Hey everyone, thank you for joining our 27th and final Sochology Eduseries of the year. My name is Mudassar Bungish. We have a very special guest for you today, but before we get started, just some quick announcements and housekeeping. Our in-person Soch cafes across Lahore, Karachi, Dubai, Islamabad, and Canada have now concluded, but fret not, we're planning a virtual one in mid-December where we'll all be joined from all the chapters across Pakistan as well as Dubai and Canada. We've also started gathering data for our annual product manager salary survey, which we'll be sending out at the end of the year. So visit our LinkedIn page, start following if you haven't already, and look out for the post about the December virtual Soch Cafe in order to register and participate in the salary survey so you can get a copy at the end of the year. Now, coming back to this session, whether you're joining us from LinkedIn or YouTube, please post your questions into the chat and we'll bring them up towards the end of the session. Our guest today is Büşra Coşkuner. In addition to being a top voice in product management on LinkedIn and a university lecturer on the subject, Büşra is a personal trainer and coach for product teams and product managers. She helps them master the craft of product management and transforms them into confident product leads who build successful businesses, relevant products that their customers love. Having worked in product-led and non-product-led companies herself for more than a decade, from startups and scale-ups to corporations such as Doodle, Deutsche Telekom, Home24, and more, she understands the different worlds and helps people apply product thinking practices to reality and upskill product professionals in their craft. With her no bullshit approach, she helps apply idealistic product theory to real-world product practice. In this talk, she will talk about connecting business goals and user outcomes with impact mapping. Butcher, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Over to you.
Thank you very much for the invitation and for the introduction. I would say let's dive in immediately with the topic. It's a topic that is very important to my heart because there's an aspect that we product people, product managers seem to skip sometimes. And I hope to connect these aspects today a little bit better. And I will start this presentation with a tough question that I want you to think about and answer in your heads. And I'll give you a couple of seconds for that because I want you to really think about it. You, as a product manager or a product leader, a product person, no matter hierarchy, what is your main responsibility? I want you to think about it, and think about it a bit more. And I hear somebody probably thinking in their heads, it's building products that customers love. Well, kind of, but not exactly. And so I will give you the answer that I hope that you have in mind, which is building the right thing. Think about it. At the end of the day, no matter what we're talking about, all the discussions that you read on LinkedIn, the conferences that you follow, all the topics that we share, they have one main goal, right? And you yourself, when you at work and you have to pick the right goal, the right target group, you have to find the right opportunity or problem to chase, the right solution to that problem or opportunity. When you have to look into the right data and talk to the right people, right? So all of these things that you have to do right, at the end of the day, they have one specific goal, which is to build the damn right thing. This is your main responsibility. But what is the damn right thing? Answering this question is the actual tough part, right? And now it depends on who you ask. Now, remember the last time, and I bet somebody had this happening already this week or, at least late last week, the last time that a stakeholder came to you and was like, I know we should build this. This is the next thing we should build. This is going to make us gazillions of millions of dollars or euros or Swiss francs or whatever. I mean, Switzerland. So let's say Swiss francs. Okay, so gazillions, of course. And you're like, yeah, thank you, dear stakeholder. I heard what you said. I'll take it with me. I'll think about it. But, actually, I believe this is what we should build. This is the damn right thing, right? And this is going to make our customers happy. And this is what we want, right? The answer to the first question, right? We want that customers are happy. So, yeah, happened this week, last week. at least once in your career, for sure. So why does this happen? And what is so problematic about it? The problematic part is not that we have different ideas. We want to have different ideas, right? We want to have lots of different ideas from different perspectives, from people from different backgrounds, right? Diverse ideas. We want that because the more ideas we have, the higher the chance that the damn right thing is amongst them. So the amount of ideas is not the problem. The diversity of the ideas is not the problem either. The problem is that people have very, very strong opinions about what the damn right thing is. And why is that? It's because we're misaligned. We're misaligned on what it means. And that is because we live in bubbles. So business lives in the business bubble, right? So whatever business means in that context. So it could be marketing team, it could be the sales team, it could be finance, ops, like whoever it is, we kind of call them business, right? And what they want is their main goal is to make business, again, in their context, right? So they have their goals and they are trying to achieve their goals. So if you ask them what the damn right thing is, they will say something along the lines of, yeah, you should build something that drives business results. Now, we product people, on the other hand, we live in our own bubble, and our main goal is to make our customers or users happy, depends. So if you ask us, again, we would say build products that customers love. The problem with that is that these goals live in their own spheres, right? So business lives in the business bubble and has business goals. Product lives in the product bubble and has product goals. And these rarely touch. But as it is with any good bubble chart, the magic happens when they meet, right? So when business goals and product goals align, this is where we want to look for the damn right thing, right? So this is where we will find the one thing that really will make our customers happy and drive business results, right? And this is what we want. We want to drive business results with products that customers love. This is the damn right thing. This is also what you should aim for in your work, to find that thing that drives business results with products that customers love. But how do we do that? It's very easy to say, right? So it's easier said than done. So how should we do that? I'll tell you how. But first, I'll let you know who I am. And this is the cliffhanger of this presentation, because now I'll let you wait for the answer to that question. How are we going to do that, right? So I'm Büşra Coşkuner, and thank you for the very nice introduction. So I call myself, as was mentioned, as the no bullshit product coach. And this is because I originally come from Berlin, and it's kind of in my DNA. I just speak out what I think. And if I think this is wrong, then I will tell you that it's wrong. And especially what I want to do is I want to make abstract product theory tangible and practical, so that you can really apply what you read at work in your real world, right? And by doing that, I want to help you to build business relevant products that customers love. So, cliffhanger over, let's get to the answer to the question of how we're going to get there. Obviously, there are many, many, many tools, many different tools that you can use to do that, of course. And that's good, right? We want to make sure we have enough diverse tools to apply them in the right context. Now, today, I would like to invite you to add another tool to your toolbox. And to be precise, it's going to be 1.5 tools. And with these 1.5 tools, they will help you to align business goals with user outcomes and eventually the product ideas, the solutions that come out in the end to enable strategic prioritization. They will help you to connect product strategy with product discovery and product delivery in an end-to-end understanding. They will help you to make better data and evidence-informed decisions through addressing assumptions. And these 1.5 tools are, first of all, impact mapping that was mentioned. So this is the one tool, right? So this is the full one tool that we're going to talk about. We will then put it on steroids, and then we will extend it in a way that we have another half tool, which is the AIM model that we're going to talk about. So let's first enter the magic world of impact mapping, and let's talk about what impact mapping actually is and how it works, so that we all have the same understanding and baseline. Impact mapping was created by Gojko Adzic. Well, he says he didn't create it, but to me, he's the creator of that. And you can get started with impact mapping by going to that URL, impactmapping.org. You will find everything that you need to get started with that. The original impact map is going through 5 stages that are labeled goal, actor, impact, deliverable, and then at the end, you have the stories that you write to actually move the deliverables to delivery. Now, I personally like to use different labels to make it work better with our product lingo. I use, in the very beginning, either goal or impact, because when we say impact, we mean business impact, right? So when we do not explain what it is, then we actually mean business impact or a very, very big, heavy lagging indicator. So that's what we mean when we say impact. Actor stays actor, then the original impact turns into outcome, because this is what's meant with impact. And the deliverable turns into either solution if we're in the discovery lingo, or output if we're in the data lingo. And then at the very end, I like to decide what I really want to do with that solution, right? So do I want to move it to delivery? Then I would write stories, but maybe I need more input, more insight. So I might need an experiment, or need to write some experiments or an analysis, or maybe I just label it as an assumption and I will decide later what I want to do with it. So let's just quickly look into what each of these mean, and then into an example, and then I will show you how to put it on steroids. So we start with the goal. As I mentioned, I also call it impact sometimes, and this is the reason why we are at what we're actually trying to achieve, right? This is the why. We start ideally with a SMART goal. That means something of maximum 6 months ahead, right? In that time horizon, but it can also work with very strategic goals up to a year. It's not intended to be that way, but it works. I mentioned I called it impact because I want to move it away from pure business goals, so that I can also use product goals here. For example, a business goal could be something like grow market share, right? Increase number of new subscribers from X to Y, or by X%, for example. A product goal that is a very, very heavy lagging indicator, but is still a product, not a business goal, could be, for example, improve 90-day retention, right? So that's kind of the difference. Then who? These are the actors that can help us or hinder us in achieving the goal. So they have a positive or negative influence on us achieving the goal. And this can be internal or external people. And do not only have to be those users or customers that we always have in mind, but can be really offstage actors that simply have an interest, but could have an effect. Think of, just as an example, Airbnb and authorities. Authorities could at any point in time kill Airbnb's business, right? By releasing a new regulation that kind of limits Airbnb's ability to act, as an example. The outcome stage is what we know as behavior change, right? A change in the actor's behavior. So it could be like in the original impact map, this means we want to find outcomes that would help the actor to do something that would help us to achieve the goal. But you can also take it from the other side, from the purely customer-centric perspective, and actually find customer problems or actor problems that you know that are existing, and find only those ones that you believe will achieve or help us achieve the goal. So you can take it from either side. Then solutions are any kind of solution. So it doesn't have to be a product or a feature improvement. It can be a process change, an organizational structuring, restructuring, right? Or a transformation, let's think very big, right? So it can be any kind of solution that would help the actor to achieve this outcome so that we achieve the business goal. And then the final layer, I already mentioned it, here you decide what you really want to do as a next step. I kind of think that I probably lost half of the audience in this theoretical piece. So let's make it a bit more tangible, let's see how that could look like in practice. This is an example from the product analytics bootcamp that I run from time to time. And here's an example from the participants who have joined in the last cohort. So the example was, let's say we are Airbnb or any other similar accommodation platform. It's kind of half of the year, and now you have the end of year goal, business goal of this one: increase number of first-time bookings in the US by 10% by end of year. 10% is pretty tough. So how do you go about that, right? We ideated actors, and some of them that we came up with, so the tree was way bigger, so we cut it, right? Were these: people visiting the US for the first time, workationers, musicians with no hotel budgets, single parents looking for a temporary stay. So here you can see it's not just user or customer or visitor, right? Or host. Well, there is no host in this example, but there might be, right? It's very specific in this case, right? A very specific group of people. So then the next question was, which outcomes should we look into so that we can actually achieve the goal? Let's pick the very first one: people visiting the US for the first time. We might want to help them quickly find interesting regions in the US. We might want to make them consider the US as a safe place to visit, or we might want to help them to find interesting attractions and sightseeing options fast. Right? So you see, with superlatives, you can formulate outcomes very well. Think of start doing something, stop doing something, or do something differently, right? And this way you can formulate outcomes very well. And only after this layer, we said, okay, now think about solutions. What are possible solutions, right? And then they ideated solutions to those outcomes. Now, there's a way how to read each path. And as we believe that each path is an assumption, we read it as an assumption. And here's an example of the very first path, like the upper path, right? So we would read it like this: we believe that by pushing US regions in the search results for some times, for people visiting the US for the first time, we'll help them find interesting regions in the US quickly, which in return will help us increase the number of first-time bookings in the US by 10% by end of year. So this is, in general, how an impact map works. Now we'll put it on steroids. What does that mean? When we blend impact map with other frameworks, then we can create very powerful tools and mechanics that help us to think topics through, depending on what we need. For example, if we combine it with an opportunity solution tree. In this way, we have an end-to-end alignment of product strategy, product discovery, with impact mapping and opportunity solution tree, even down to, if we want, to delivery. Right? Here's the end-to-end connection. So basically, here in the beginning, the first three phases are the impact map. Then we add the opportunities at that point where we see the outcomes turned into product outcomes. And then we find the solutions to those opportunities. And then we can think about the next steps, what we want to do with it. Another way or another framework to combine it with is KPI trees. Let's say the goal that we want to work on is really, really big, right? And now we have to break it down. Well, I love trees, as you know by now, so we can create a KPI tree and find one sub-goal that is small enough that we can really think about it, how we could solve that with which solutions. You can also find potential OKRs in an impact map, either on the goal level or on the outcome level. Also, if you don't use OKRs, but other ways of outcome-based roadmaps, you can find those outcomes for your roadmaps on the outcome level. Surprise. Also, you can combine it with the lean startup mindset, because we have assumptions everywhere, right? So whenever I build a tree, I make sure that we talk about what is a known, what is a belief, and what is an assumption. And as soon as you label them, you make them visible, right? What needs to be true in order to achieve this, in order to make this successful, right? So they're everywhere. Hidden assumptions are everywhere, and you can create experiments to test them. If you're using Scrum, you can also find a potential product goal on the outcome level. And one way that I really like using impact mapping is when you flip it and use it in reverse. I call it reverse impact mapping. So next time that a stakeholder comes to you and says, this is the next best idea we should build, this is amazing, it's going to make us gazillions, you're going to be like, okay, thank you. For whom are we building that? And if we're successful with this, what will be their success, right? And now you talk about actor and outcome. And then you try to connect it to the goal and be like, okay, will this really help us move the needle on our business goal or not? And then you can come with different solutions for the same outcome, or with different outcomes for the same actor. Or maybe you could even shift the conversation to a different actor if you know that strategically, actually, the company has decided to look on a different actor. So why should we work on something that should help this actor and not that actor, right? So now we have some different perspective on discussing about the solution.
Büşra, I just want to, before you continue, just want to add a comment here actually on these mapping exercises, right? I know it sounds kind of like a no-brainer, but this is the work that product managers need to put in, right? Often, I think what happens is, we look at these exercises, we get overwhelmed, not just by the exercise, but by our backlog and everything else, and we get distracted. But I think us as product managers, we need to put in the time to kind of break things down this way so that we can gain clarity, right? And then, of course, that'll save us a ton of time and grief in the future. So I just wanted to kind of, put that out there for the folks who are online, who are listening. You need to take the time out to kind of do the type of breakdown that Büşra is talking about in order
Absolutely.
to see results.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you for pointing this out, and especially when you go to the stakeholder and are like, we should not work on this. Why? Because it's not a priority. Why? Well,
Yeah.
it's not on our priority list. Why? Well, I don't know, right? So this way, you have a reason why, because the actor and the outcome, and especially the business goal, these are strategic or should be, and ideally are, strategic decisions that were made either with your leadership or like on a different level. And you can always refer to that and be like, we should not work on this because this is not our priority at the moment. And if you lack priority from the top, like the top is not giving you that priority, then you have to discuss this with your manager and suggest priority, right? So you can work this out by yourself and suggest a priority. All right, so now let's get to the other half framework that I want to show you, or it's not a framework, it's more like a model. But by now you hopefully learned one new tool, and now we get to the other half. What we want to do is we want to take these steroids, right? Impact mapping put on steroids, these combinations of different frameworks, and we want to connect the dots between them in order to create an end-to-end view. I promised you I will show you how to align business goals and user outcomes and product ideas and enable strategic prioritization. That should work with what I've showed you so far. To connect product strategy with discovery and delivery end-to-end, ? And to make data and evidence informed decisions through addressing assumptions, which should also work by now with what I showed you when you address the assumptions. Now let's look into the middle of this thing, right? So connect product strategy with this discovery and delivery end to end. We want to do these three, or we want to achieve these three outcomes in 3 simple steps. We want to align business and product expectations in the first step. Then we want to identify the right outcomes to focus on and the right solutions to work on. And then we want to make everything measurable and make sure that we address assumptions and gain more data and insights in form of evidence whenever we cannot. This is what I call the AIM model, because we want to aim for business success with products that customers love. So what is this AIM model? This AIM model is a mental model of how to create this end-to-end connection. So on the left-hand side, we have we seek some sort of a strategic alignment and a roadmap. On the right-hand side, this is more the tactical level, where we need some prioritization and a tactical planning. So what we want to do is, starting with a business goal, we want to create an alignment between business goal and user outcome. We can have an upfront KPI tree or some sort of a different drive a tree to come to that point that we can really talk about the most important business goal. We can use the actor in between. We can have the actor in the very beginning, so this kind of can switch the step, right? But eventually, the main point is to connect the business goal with the outcome here, right? The actor outcome. Ideally, this is going to be probably some sort of a user or customer outcome. And ideally, it's formulated from the customer's point of view. But again, remember, we want to focus on those ones that will help us to achieve our business goal. From those outcomes, we will identify those ones that we want to put on our outcome-based roadmap and that we can use to find the right solution. We can, don't have to, we can use opportunity solution tree or any other form of discovery to find the solution. We can use some sort of a strategic prioritization to, filter the list of 200, 500 ideas that you have already down to have only those ones that really pay into the outcome. Or we might use a different way, but we want to identify in the second step the solutions that will, only those solutions that will pay into those outcomes. And then, as I mentioned, everything that we can measure, we will measure. Everything that we cannot measure might not need a metric. Not everything needs a metric. And that is something that I say as a data person, not everything needs a metric. And everything that is an assumption, we want to make clear that it is an assumption. Another part of the measurement step is that we really make sure that we run experiments or any other type of data and insights gathering to make sure we pick the right solution that will help us or will help the actor to achieve the outcome so that we will achieve the business goal. And these three steps, align, identify, and measure, is what I call the AIM model. Now, there are two important things to mention about that. First of all, it's not linear. It looks like it's linear, but it's not. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of feeding each other, and a lot of changes that happen while we are going through these steps. It's not a process. It's more like a guide for different practices to make sure that you connect the dots between those views, right? And second, it's framework agnostic. That's why I mentioned we can use the opportunity solution. We can do this. We can use that framework. It's not about the framework that we use. It's about making sure that we use the first principles to connect the dots and then use the tool that works best for the company and the product and the setup that we're working in. And that's how I now come to my main point, which is stop pushing for business results. Stop building products that customers love. Both is one-sided. Instead, start driving business with products that customers love. This is the damn right thing that you should aim for to build. Add impact mapping to the mix of your activities. Put it on steroids by blending it with other methods, and then connect the dots with the AIM model. And then go and build the damn right thing. And now, if you have questions, shoot.
Okay. Awesome, Bushra. Thank you so much. Just scouring LinkedIn. I'll post again. Okay. I guess one of the what are some of the pitfalls that you would see with this methodology, right? It all sounds, like a lot of things, all things sound great in kind of theory, but in practice, what has your experience been, maybe with, some pitfalls or some kind of negative results that have happened if people have followed this or not followed it the right way?
Yeah. So in general, I'm very careful with saying words like the right way or not, because I believe whatever method we use, we need to make sure that it kind of fits into the environment that we are in, right? Take people where they are, and what happens quite often is that the business goal is either too big and then the manager expects like some magic from the product team based on a very, very big and high level business goal. So there's a lot of work to do to actually break that down. Another thing that happens quite often is the outcome level. It's very difficult to formulate outcomes that are not actually hidden outputs or like solutions. So that's something that I have to train again and again with the teams. Then another point that also happens a lot is, especially when managers are joining the impact mapping session, is that we have a list of solutions that are already kind of predefined, right? And they work it backwards, like the reverse impact map, and kind of justify the actor and outcome based on the solution that they have in mind. So I have to remind, especially the managers, not only, but especially the managers of the product managers, to, yes, okay, you can think backwards from the solution, but make sure to then again think forwards, right? So the question yourself, was like, challenge your thinking. Was that really the right solution to the actor and outcome? Or maybe the outcome is even not a good one to focus on for that actor. And that is kind of pretty tricky when you have the managers in the room.
Gotcha.
And prioritization, of course, like prioritization is never an easy topic. It's always a mess.
Absolutely. So, like one other question I have is around, one of your earlier slides kind of showed business outcomes and product outcomes. I'm curious if you can perhaps speak to the engineering organization and their outcomes and what their roles are in this exercise, if any.
Yeah. So, in my belief, engineering is a very important part of the product team. Meaning, to me, and that's a genuine belief, it's not like making things up. To me, it's engineers are product people, designers are product people, product managers are product people. We're all product people. All those people who directly work on a product and its success are product people to me, no matter their role in this, right? So for me, an engineer, at least one engineer, somebody who knows the technical part very, very well, should join the impact mapping session and be part of finding the outcome for that actor and finding the solution for that outcome. Regarding the business goal in this first part, the alignment part between business goal and outcome, happens typically on a higher level, as in with stakeholders, maybe with management stakeholders or business stakeholders, or that kind of level where we have the product leader involved, maybe the engineering leader as well, depending on the company setup, right? And then it depends on the flight level that we look at, whether the whole exercise continues with this group of people or actually changes and moves to the product team to work out the solutions and prioritize the outcomes as well.
Okay, awesome. Büşra, I know we're out of time. We have one last question, if you're okay for time.
Sure.
Come through. I think you kind of touched on this towards the end of your presentation, but Ahmed is asking, how can impact mapping be integrated with other agile methodologies?
So, impact mapping, or let's say agile methodologies. What are other agile methodologies? Oh, we have Scrum. We have extreme programming. I won't say Kanban because it's not an agile methodology in itself. So the point is, you can use, or you can map it to wherever the connection is. As in, for example, I mentioned in Scrum, there's the product goal. It's still a bit of a mess. It's still not clearly defined what the product goal is, but it could be the outcome. It could be the business goal. It could be the product vision. And the product vision itself is kind of preset to the whole exercise. On the other hand, impact mapping is also a good exercise before you do story mapping, before you actually know the whole thing or want to map out the whole thing to understand the whole user flow, that you first have to define what the whole thing is, right? So how it can be integrated is, you can use it as a guide, you can use it as a navigation guide, you can use it as a roadmap, you can use it as a one-off exercise, a throw it away exercise to actually sketch your ideas in order to move it to delivery, right? And when I say move it to delivery, it's not about throwing it over the fence. Then actually, again, there's a feedback loop, right? So you do it together with the engineers, figure out, okay, do we have enough evidence for this? Can we build that? Okay, we cannot. Okay, then maybe we need a different solution. What do you think is a better solution to that same outcome? Okay, could we do this? And so on and so forth, right? So there's the whole feedback loop into it as well. Awesome. I hope this answers, but the question, agile methodologies is quite a big term.
Yeah, and I was just going to add actually to that agile, the word agile, I found over the last couple of years is now it's almost objective, right? What some people might see as agile is not agile to others. I think the value that I see here is that it is a powerful tool, one of many powerful tools that you can utilize to provide clarity for yourself, right? Just like any kind of solution mapping or any kind of framework. The framework itself is not the solution. The framework is there so that it can kind of tear apart what you're thinking and put that down on paper so that it can provide clarity in terms of what you're building and why you're building an alignment.
Exactly. So that's the main outcome, alignment and clarity. And that's why I say it's so important to connect the dots between strategy and discovery and delivery, right? So because you want that alignment, and only with alignment you get clarity. And awesome. The tool itself, like how you use the tool itself, is a matter of agility, right? So if you use it as a flow and have it only like one directional, then it's not that, then you cannot call yourself agile anyways. But if you really go through the thinking and the mindset of, okay, we have to always have these iterations and feedback loops and everywhere and back and forth, then you're agile anyways.
Okay, great. Yeah, and if you're looking for more resources on impact mapping, Büşra mentioned impactmapping.org. Also, you can start following her on LinkedIn. As I mentioned, she's a top voice for product management, so you'll see tons more content, examples there on her page as she's posting. So, Büşra, this was an amazing session, and myself and everyone online learned a ton. On behalf of our product community and product switch team, thank you so much. And thank you to all of you for joining us for the session and throughout the year. We have a great lineup of product leaders and experts for 2024, and we can't wait for all of you to join us for those sessions. So thank you again, Büşra. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you for having me. Closing the year. Yay!
Yay.